In junior year of high school, I realized that it's stupid to call everyone my friend. And it's also very unrealistic. Now, if someone wants to call everyone their friend, that's fine. That's their preference. I feel like everyone has their own criteria. But junior year of high school, I literally had to make a list of all the people, all the 50 people that I considered my friends and differentiate between best friends and acquaintances with friends in between. But at this point, my best friends are my friends. I came to this realization, I had this breakthrough because with a lot of the people at the time that I feel like I would give all of this, like I'd give my all for, all of this energy for, this effort for, but they didn't give it back to me. It made me like have this emotional breakdown, feeling like no one cares about me. Like, oh, why don't they care about me? And why do they give this effort to this other person and not me? I've been there for them, and oh, like blah blah blah. We talk and doesn't mean shit. And I hated feeling like that, like nobody cared about me. But when I actually sat down and looked at the people who did care about me, it's like over time I changed my expectations and I don't really have those kinds of reactions anymore when someone doesn't reciprocate. Now, it could be disappointing, but it doesn't have me like pleading and asking them like, "What do I need to do? Like what blah blah blah. I thought this and I thought that." No. No, not anymore. But with that little backstory out of the way, like I'm gonna get to the actual list of like what I look for in my friends, like my actual friends, my best friends. Of course, reciprocation is the bare fucking minimum. Considering that all my friends and I were adults and we have busy lives. And we understand that like we can't talk to each other every single day. Sometimes we don't talk to each other for a couple of weeks. Sometimes we need space and we don't talk to each other for a couple of months. I'm the kind of person who has ghosted and gone on hiatuses, and my friends will eventually realize, "Oh, she needs space, she needs time," and she will text and call when she's ready. That's something I've appreciated so much from them because it's like I feel like we're all like that. We've all done that at some point because we are really going through it. And we may be sad that we can't talk to each other, but we don't take it personally. Um, Also making time for when I am going through my worst or when they're going through their worst. Let's say like I'm about to have a fucking breakdown because of some life got a lot of reasons for you to break down. I need to talk to somebody. I need to talk to someone that I trust who will listen to me, who might give me some advice. And I call one of my friends or text one of my friends, "Hey, can I call you? Like, I need to talk about something." If they can't talk in that moment, they'll still try to make time to lend an ear or lend a shoulder. They could be like, "Oh, well, I can't right now, but maybe a little later or maybe tomorrow because I'm doing this right now." That's something that I like really, really appreciate. Like, they don't just like brush you off and they're like, "Oh, well, I'm doing something right now, so I can't." Like, even if they can't, they still make the time at some point. Time is another thing. A lot of my friends, the people I consider friends, are people that I've known from the span of like from either 6 years to almost 10 years. So these are a lot of people I've known since actually, they're all people that I've known since like either intermediate school or high school. But I feel like with that time, it really like of course I can get to really know them. I get to know their morals, their mind, aside from like oh the things that they like aside from the surface level shit, I get to see them as a person like in depth, like deeper down, like the fucking iceberg. To me, shows like, okay, you could really be compatible with somebody. You can really trust somebody, rely on somebody, aside from enjoying their presence. Now, does it take me 6 years minimum to call someone my friend or consider that label? No. It takes me like, it's gonna sound crazy, 2 years. I feel like that's enough time for me to talk to you, do things with you, see how you handle things. Like, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to a friendship. I feel like 2 years is enough time. It's kind of like how I can't right off the bat meet a guy, we're flirting off the bat, and then we decide to get into a relationship in like 3 weeks. I can't do that. I'm way better with people who I've established a connection with before the romance, or been friends with, or known for at least 2 years. And then there's also like the substance, like, can't always hang out with my friends because, like I said, we're fucking adults. Well, first of all, we don't live next to each other. We live kind of far apart. But when we can, we hang out. We'll see each other. We'll talk on the phone, we'll reconnect, which one of the best feelings, honestly, like even if you talk to them pretty frequently through text, it's like a different thing seeing them in person and just having that presence with you, conversations. Also, maturity is important to me too. Like, don't get me wrong, I feel like maybe there's times where I feel like we're all immature in some instances, or maybe I'm just thinking of the times where I'm just being very like quirky. I like a level of maturity in some places. Understanding space and boundaries is another huge thing. I set a boundary. My friends aren't really going to question it. People who aren't my friends, I'm not saying this is for everybody, but like people who don't really understand you and they don't really know you is like, if you set a boundary, they're probably going to question it. They're going to test your boundaries to see where they can find loopholes and do things that you told them clearly that you're not comfortable with or that you don't want to do. My friends understand that shit. Like they don't ask questions. They don't ask questions. And I think my boundaries are reasonable, just like their boundaries are reasonable. And even on that note, like my boundary of not calling everyone my friend, I think that's a boundary in my opinion. Because like I said, it's raised my expectations in the past and it's made me like disappointed to the point where I'm like depressed about it. I don't like feeling like that. And I've gotten out of that mindset and it took a lot of work. But I've had people who get offended, like even like I used to, who get sad or offended when I like say like, "Oh, like I don't consider you a friend." And I don't just say this straight up to people, "Oh, I don't think you're my friend." If it comes up, if the subject comes up, I may like say it like straight up because I don't really believe in that one-sided stuff. If they want to consider me a friend and I don't consider them a friend and they're okay with that, they're okay with that. But like, for example, it's like people that I've known for like a month and they consider me a friend. And then we're on the subject. I'm like, "Oh, I don't consider you a friend." And then they're like questioning me about it and constantly like, "Oh, well, why not? I consider you a friend. Like, oh, we seem so close and yada, yada, yada." It's like, whoa, you're moving too fast for me. And just because I don't call someone a friend, which I feel like this is a misconception with some people, is like, that doesn't mean I fucking hate you. Like, that doesn't mean I hate your fucking guts. And I want you to get hit by a train. No, that's stupid. I can still vibe with people and I can still fuck with somebody, but I don't have to call them my friend because that's mainly for me, which I think that's something a lot of people don't realize. And I try to explain that to them, but not everyone understands that also. I feel like you can still interact with people and be cool with people and you don't have to call them your friend. Overall respect. Not saying that that doesn't exist outside of friendships, but it's like my friends consider, like I said, my boundaries. They consider how they know me as a person and they consider my well-being, which I think is very important because if you call someone your friend and they don't consider any of those things, your well-being, your happiness, they don't support you, don't want the best for you, like what's the point? If there's no respect there, it's not a friendship. And I'm very grateful to have people that respect me, whether I call them a friend or not. That's something that's extremely important to me. And I feel like kind of ties to like everything else that I talked about. Not everyone is your friend. Not everyone is my friend. I had to learn the hard way that not everyone gives a shit about you. And it sounds very like kind of mean to say that, but it's true. Not everyone gives a shit about you. And that's fine. That's why I focus on the people who do give a shit about me. And I take my time when it comes to putting that friend label on somebody because not everyone deserves it. And people will show you that. But if you keep persisting and thinking that all your effort is going to change their mind, for me, how I feel about it, it makes me look needy. I don't like looking needy, especially when they're not bending over backwards, doing backflips and falling on their nose for me. Yeah, no, unnecessary. Let me know if you relate to anything that I said. If you didn't relate to anything that I said, what is your criteria for friends? What is something that you look for in friendships? How long does it take for you to call someone your friend? Do you call everyone your friend? Let me know in the comments. And until my next video, whatever I talk about.